technical death metal, which is kind of what the label that has been put on my style of music. It's taking the heavy style of death metal and then adding some fusion and some jazz elements to it. So I think elevating the musicality, so to speak, to the heavier genre of music. Early on, I was really into like Alex Van Halen, John Bonham, Neil Peart, of course, guys like Vinnie Colaiuta, Gary Husband, Elvin Jones, like the classic jazz guys, Kenny Clarke. I mean, it just opened up a whole like, oh my God, there's so much out there. I realized there was a lot of possibilities, or a lot of stuff like cymbal work that could go on top of these other beats instead of just playing the straight ahead thing. I think it's just really if, you know, Slayer was in one car and Chick Corea was in another and they just collided, that's kind of what you would get. You know, you have a mix of both. You have an intensity, a brutality, but then you also have a musicality and a subtlety to the playing that makes it much more vibrant than just straight ahead, you know, aggression. The technology is rapidly catching up to the point where you really get sounds that sound like, you know, you'd have to question, is that a real kit or was that, you know, was that an electronic kit? And it's amazing, you know, how far it's come. When you hear it in your headphones and you're playing, it almost feels like you're playing, like it tricks your brain into thinking that I'm playing a real kit because the sound sounds so like a real kit that even though it might not really be feeling like a tom, there's a weird thing that happens that it's like, oh, this, you know, this feels like a real tom. So it's really kind of amazing where it started and where it's come to. One of the purposes for Toontrack having great drummers come in and record MIDI packs is so you can get the feel of a real drummer, but it is actually a MIDI, you know, a MIDI groove, you know. So I tried to play grooves that were certainly true to my style, but were moldable for a person who's not necessarily a drummer or someone who can easily access the information and create their own versions of what I recorded. So I think my approach was to do bare bones versions of things and then to do more elaborate versions of those bare bone things. So you can either take the MIDI information and manipulate it and move it around to come up with your own thing, or hopefully I was successful in creating grooves that are just straight out of the box into your computer and off you go to write, you know, your music.